Hey everybody, it's Trigger Bar Philosopher. Welcome back to the tabletop. Today I have an exciting optic to review. It's the new Micro Prism from Primary Arms. It's a 5X optic, and I have it mounted with a 507C, which comes with the ACSS reticle on it. And it has a new forward 12 o'clock mount. And so we're going to take a look at this today and see what it has to offer. Let's go. Okay, so thanks for tuning in and watching. Today we're going to be taking a look at this SLx 5X red dot. It's an etched reticle, and it's a micro prism is what they're calling it. And it's a regular optic, regular scope. It comes with this mount, and then it also comes with probably two other mounts that don't cantilever it as much over to the front, and it's going to sit out on the gun. Your charging handle will be here and your eye will be right here. So I do want to roll some footage and talk about just some of the pros and cons to this reticle, and then also maybe just a little bit of philosophy of use. Okay, so bear with me. This is my first time trying to show the reticle or any reticle in this manner, and it's going to be a little bit of a blurry mess. But yeah, all right, so let's get to looking at it. So what I want to just kind of talk about is with this 5X, it does have a pretty narrow eye box. You have to be right on this thing. It's a small optic, it's short, so the eye box is going to be very narrow. But when you're in it, it is pretty clear. And I would also say that the illuminated reticle, which is the chevron which you normally get from Primary Arms, is pretty bright and is pretty daylight bright. I'm going to compare it here in just a moment to how the 507C looks, but I would say it's pretty good. I guess my only complaint is that the eye box is pretty short. I would say the image quality is pretty good once you're in on it though. But I think you have to know that if you're going to get a fixed 5X optical that's this small, that's this lightweight, you're going to have to get right up on it and be a narrow eye box. So here we go. So here we're looking at the 507C. You can see that it's a bit brighter than the max brightness that's on the Micro Prism below it. But the Micro Prism, you can see that red dot and it looks fine. Again, my apologies on this clarity. So let's talk a little bit more of the philosophy of this. All right, my apologizing for the hack job on the videoing, but I'm just going to freeze it right here and talk about the philosophy of use. I thought I had covered that later, but in editing, I realized that I did not. So let's get into it. So I really like the Micro Prisms because they're lightweight and they have an etched reticle. Now, they do have a battery compartment and they have an illuminated reticle, and that's awesome, but what happens when you run out of batteries? What happens when batteries are no longer able to be found? Or what happens if some type of event, EMP, Carrington event, something like that were to happen and your optic were to be fried? I think that's low probability with this type of device or other types of optics because they are not hooked into the grid. And for an EMP or other type of device or other type of event that might fry electronics, it's pretty low probability of anything like that happening. Meaning not only is the event low probability, but what has to happen on EMP or some type of Carrington event is that you need distance for the electrons and ions and other things like that to collect in your electronics in order for them to short out. So I think for a micro dot or red dot or something like that, it's pretty low probability. However, I still wanted to get something that could be lightweight and still had an etched reticle in case I no longer had batteries. So I think that's the main philosophy of use. Certainly also if you're looking to lose weight on your rifle over a traditional scope, this package comes in at maybe around a total of 10 ounces, which is amazing. So I think that's something to consider. There's another channel out there called Brass Facts that if you're interested in this Micro Prism scope, I highly recommend that you go and watch his demo. He actually does a bit more, let's just call it aggressive testing of this optic. The optic seems to hold up from other tests that he's done. This cantilever mount isn't great, especially when it's so far over. He recommends you go with the vertical. And then this housing, this Primary Arms mini reflex housing, it's great. And man, this is such a nice compact package, right? You've got your whole scope. You can have a side mount and it sticks out to the side. And I don't really know if I like that. I really like this, but if you watch that video, this thing breaks when he does slam it really hard into the desk, and this mount breaks. So I don't know. I do have a new lower mount ordered, and I will show that, and when I'll probably end up using that to mount it onto my system, reduce one more point of failure. But I think I'm just going to run it with this. I'm a lot more gentle on my rifles than others. Of course, this is the challenge, right? You're gentle until you're not, right? And then I would bet you dollars to donuts that you're always going to be finding when your systems fail at the worst moments possible. So you want to buy reliable stuff, you want to buy good hardened stuff, and so that's a challenge. Now, I think this optic is pretty good. It does have a shorter eye relief, and then you have to be right on it. That's what you get with this 5X. If you don't want that, if you want something that's a little bit looser, go to the 3, go to the 2X. I have the 3, I've reviewed that at other times, and I really like it, but I wanted something I could get a little bit further out, and I knew I was going to be sacrificing that. It's a little bit harder to find your target, so on and so forth, so I have this up top micro reflex dot, the Holosun 507C on top, so that I can see things up close. I can also do an sort of more of adjusted chin weld instead of a cheek weld on my rifle, and I think that's going to work out just fine. But, you know, pros and cons, you know, there's no perfect rifle setup. And I think that Primary Arms is doing a lot to add to the community with giving us options. Really lightweight 8-ounce optic that they provided for us here with a higher magnification, this fixed 5X, and that daylight bright reticle, or illuminated reticle. And again, a mounting system. I think they'll probably come out with an improved version of this over time, or other companies will come out with something like this. And so time will tell, but let me know what you think. Are you on board with some of these micro prisms that are coming out from Primary Arms, or do you think that you know, traditional LPVO is the way, or is it acog life for you? And or you know, what are the options? Again, this is going to be a lot cheaper than an acog. So yeah, love to hear what your thoughts are in the comments section. Please like, share, and subscribe this video. Every time you do that, it really does help. Especially, I really appreciate those of you who have been sharing my videos. It means a lot to me and to this channel. So hope you all have a great day. And yeah, I did use this as a place to open up my Vibrotite, and so yeah.